All right, welcome everybody to the basically second to last show of Talk. There's a lot of new faces, which means that y'all saw my posters all around the sack or probably on the floor, but it's all good. It's all right. My craftsmanship does not matter. Anyway, kind of different this time. We actually have filming, as you can see, and so we kind of got adjusted. So usually, one, we just got a microphone back, if you have not been here. So because we have the mic back, we got this little device right here. This is basically taking the audio to the camera. And so if you want to talk, you want to, engage in the conversation, you got to see how brave you are. Come step right here in front of the microphone and voice your opinion. Now for y'all, this is your first time being here. I'm going to explain to you what TALK is. TALK is a very unique acronym that I created, which means teaching authenticity, learning kindness. So the whole point of this is over the summer, during the height of the George Floyd, murder, and then the Black Lives Matter protest, part of me felt like that I wanted to do something so when I come out to Salina, a lot of my peers and classmates won't just be blind to what's happening. And so I had to figure out, okay, what can I do? I talked to my coach about doing forums and if I could find any way to, get it started. And once we got the wheels working, this is how we came up with TALK. So we've been doing this since around August 19th, around August. And this is the second to last one, which we will be doing talks in the spring as well. So, don't fear. But the whole point of this is to create a dialogue within students. Sometimes when we have engagements with our peers, we don't really talk about the actual issues that happen. So for me, I wanted to make this event so that we are able to have these discussions with people that you probably never know before. So you can hear different perspectives, different backgrounds, and different stories. And so when you make a decision or make an opinion, it's not just one-sided. You have multiple perspectives and a lot of different dimensions to it. So the whole point, you really think about it, is to make sure that you do not become ignorant, to lead everybody out of ignorant. And so that's why this whole thing is here. So when we engage with the questions and stuff, this is, I guess, I don't really like to say it, it's a safe space. The whole point is to create dialogue. Everybody's different here. You'll hear different opinions and stuff. But at the end of the day, we gotta learn. This is how we grow. And with growth, this is how we become better people and stuff. Because one thing that we need right now is growth within the whole entire nation. And so you gotta start small. So that's why TALK is here. So I want to introduce you to some of our team members. Right here, we have Anthony Vargas. He basically creates the slides and helps operate it during the show. And our co-host, Jalen. Anytime if I feel nervous or just a little bit tired, Jalen basically takes over, which is very nice because, a little bit shy a couple of times. But today, I'm feeling good. Nice camera, school's about to end and stuff. Got the juice. So I'm gonna let Jalen actually do a little bit of icebreaker, then we'll start the show.
How's everybody doing today? You guys doing good? A little bit of head nods, got a few people in here, new faces. It feels pretty good to have new faces in here. But yeah, just to give you guys a run around what DeAndre was talking about, TALK is definitely a safe space. The main goal is just to create conversation among all our students and whatnot, so we can get better perspectives of each other's backgrounds, experiences back home, experiences on campus, just so we can better understand each other and kind of find a way to get closer as a unit. That way we can, move forward as not only as a population of students, but as a campus and, a school in the middle of Kansas, in the middle of America. So, so today we'll be talking about the election results. This election, me personally, I felt like I was very nervous. I was extremely nervous this election, especially because of last election's results. It seems like last election it was like all jokes and stuff like that. And then it came to be, and in our last 4 years were pretty interesting. It was definitely a ride for all of us, in any kind of way. We were all affected, whether it being COVID, whether it being, who you voted for, whether it being where you live, where you're from, or in any kind of way. I feel like everyone was affected. But this year I feel like, especially younger population decided to kind of take matters into their own hands and kind of vote for who they wanted to, do their own research. Me personally, I've never really paid attention to politics, politics and whatnot when it comes to, you know, electing president or governors or, you know, people in office, whatnot. But this term, I was especially very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very attentive to what's going on and what's happening. So let's go ahead and get started with the first question. Oh, and, you know, if you guys want to say something, you know, you don't have to come up here. I'll make sure to restate the question because it can be kind of nerve-wracking for some. So I definitely understand that. I can restate the question to the people watching from home or Zoom. And yeah, so if you do have anything you want to say, just go ahead, raise your hand, and then go ahead and say it. I'll restate it, and then we can get the conversation going from there. But our first question, what were your expectations for this election after seeing the debates? So in a funny way, I came across the debates kind of on Twitter, and it was just jokes. And as soon as I saw that, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, man, this year or this term, this election might not go in a really good way just because, like, people were talking about flies. People were talking about, like, Donald Trump acting in a very childish manner. It's kind of like it wasn't really, of course, debates are arguments, but, you know, these debates were very distinctively different from any other debate that we've seen or know about. And I just thought to myself, like, I don't really know what to think of this. You know, this is my second time being able to vote, so it's very interesting and very remarkable just because this has changed. It's a very specific time in history with all that's going on around. So I thought to myself, like, this should be a very interesting election. DeAndre, what do you think about that, man?
So personally for me, I feel like that it definitely was an interesting election. I know when I talked to Dr. Cheeks, he talked about how previous elections, it wasn't that much tension, it wasn't that much division. It was just like, well, if you vote Republican, that's okay. If you vote Democratic, that's okay. Switch to this year, it felt a lot of tension was there. It was a big division. You know, I said it my best way, it's almost like, you know, Bloods and Crips in the early 2000s in LA. It was a lot of hostility and stuff. And so the freedom to really choose who you really want to vote for kind of went out the window. It's more like, well, do you want to deal with this or do you want to deal with that? And so when it comes to this election, there's a lot of things I looked at. I looked at this. One of the main things is that we should never put ourselves in a position to where we have to look at candidates who might not be qualified and just be like, well, you know, he's better than him, so I'm just going to vote for him. We should never be in that position ever again. I think we can all agree like that. Because even though, like, you look at both of them, watching that debate hurt my head, I only watched it for 2 minutes. Because I was just like, there's no point in me watching this. And it really made me think, like, what's the definition of a leader? Because we gotta remember, there are 3 branches of government. And so the president doesn't have sole control of everything. But when you look at the president, he's kind of the biggest role model in the world, well, in the nation. And so when it comes to him and stuff, you gotta elect somebody who has great character, work ethic, and truly is gonna be for the people and stuff. It kind of flip a coin. For some people, you know, Trump might have been for them, for others not. And when it comes to this election, it's like, well, we know how Biden is. I'd rather take a chance with him. With some people, I'd rather take a chance with him than 4 more years with somebody else. We should never be in that predicament. And so when it comes to this election, I hope that everybody learns that you need to look at each and every candidate, truly analyze them, do your research on them, and ask yourself, is this person going to deliver, or are they just, you know, hyping me up and they're going to disappoint me? And so with this election, I learned a lot of things and stuff. Sadly, I couldn't vote because my ballot never got to Georgia because I'm registered there. I tried to register here, I couldn't. I tried to vote there. But one thing, like I said, is very important. When I first voted was for 2016, and honestly, I voted independent because at that time, I felt like that, even though that person probably would have won, I felt like his values matched with my values. That's what my mom taught me. Vote for somebody who matches your values and stuff. So when it comes to the next election that I have, which, remember, there's also governor, and other parts too, there's multiple elections, always pay attention and make sure, okay, what are they going to do? Because the biggest thing is the governors control what happens in the state. They're the ones that affect you the most. And I was happily able to convince one of my friends to make sure that he votes. Because, I mean, he said there's no point of voting, nothing's going to change. I was like, change not going to happen that fast, but you need to understand this is your right. A lot of people have to fight for you to have this right, okay? Centuries and centuries, like years and years, all that, they fought for you to have this right and stuff. And so now, why you choosing not to vote is basically, spitting in their face. We have this opportunity and stuff. And if you're going to complain about nothing changing, well, you're not trying to participate in that change. Voting is important. Remember that. This election is definitely going to go down in history because a lot of things that, going to change and stuff. So that's my part. So usually after this is when we open the floor to anybody who wants to, talk about this, as you can see. And for those who are watching, the question is, what were your expectations for this election after seeing the debates?
It's fine, guys. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to say about the debates as well, where this time I was very much more like a little confused because this is my first time experiencing like actually paying attention to those running in or those attempting to run for president, and it was confusing because when you think of president or when you think of someone as a president, you think of just all these noble things, and you put all these characteristics of a president together, and then you watch the debate and you become a little bit confused because they're not showing, or not everyone in the that's running, but majority of them are showing kind of a complete opposite of those characteristics, and it's like, I definitely was for sure confused. But did anyone kind of feel a little? Sometimes did anyone even watch? If not, it's okay. If you didn't watch, it's fine. But you checked it out. Did you?
I guess at first, after watching the first one, for me it was just like kind of like an embarrassment almost.
Yeah.
It was more of just pity battles and
Yeah, I agree.
talking about nothing compared to actual discussion on things. And
Important.
I feel like the points that were brought up would just get canceled because one of them would talk over the other. And
Mhm.
it just didn't look professional. So I just was kind of embarrassed after the first one.
Yeah, same. Do you was this your first time voting?
Second time.
Second time? What do you see like a huge difference between the first time and the second time, as far as debates go, or?
Yes and no. I mean, just because, especially like where I voted in California both times.
Mhm.
I mean, for the most part, it's always going to be Democratic. So I mean, no matter what, and I mean, my area is heavily white, so I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of Republican viewpoints
Mhm.
from. So I mean, it was kind of one-sided in my
Mhm.
area, but like moving out here and like going to different areas, I mean, learning different viewpoints, it's kind of interesting to see how things change with different areas and everything like that. So I mean, like, I guess in my area, the first election was very one-sided, but I mean, California still was Democratic, but
Yeah, for sure. I'm from we're both from California, so it's like everyone around me is like voting Democratic and whatnot. But no, yeah, like I think there was like me personally, like there was a huge difference between the first time, because the first time I hardly paid attention. Like I saw it and I was like, okay, well, how is this going to change things for me back home or whatever? And then like I noticed what happened the last term and whatnot. Before I move on to the next question, anyone have any comments or anything they wanted to say or anything about how they felt around about watching the presidential election debates? No. All right, next question. Noticing the surrounding states as well as Kansas are majority Republican, how does that make you feel? How does that make me feel? I personally feel like, at first I thought it was kind of like a joke, And then like as I was paying attention to like who was winning and what states were, you know, red and blue, and I noticed like the surrounding states here were like, you know, red, like solid red, and then our state that we attend school in is like solid red. And I was just thinking to myself like, oh wow, this isn't a joke. This is you know, this is our life. I personally feel like it's a little unsafe because, you know, you never know. Like I'm not very familiar with the area or surrounding area. So I drove here from California, and it's a little just not frightening, but like a little alarming to drive back, just because I know, you know, these others, majority of the people in the passing through states, I know some of their viewpoints. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say when I see someone, I'm going to automatically think that they voted for Trump, but I will have a strong assumption that I'm sure that, you know, assumption that they did, just because like that's the type of things that I noticed when during this presidential election, when the results came for the state of Kansas, and you know, it kind of came up red. I was thinking to myself like, oh, like, you know, that's fine. I can expect that. But I sat down and really thought about it and was like, wow, like, you know, I'm literally in the middle of, you know, what could be, and it was all fun and games and jokes, but like of a civil war. And I'm thinking to myself like, I don't think that's pretty exciting, you know. Well, I'm sure it is exciting, but I don't think it's very safe, you know, just being the fact that, you know, I'm a black man, a black dude, and I'm in a red state, you know. I thought it was always funny to cross over the bridge and see those with their Trump flags and Trump signs, and I would think like, oh wow, like these people really going hard for someone that really can care less about them and whatnot. And, you know, that's just my personal opinion on how he views his voters. But it didn't really like kind of hit me until like I saw that people really supported this man in any way that they could, and would literally listen to this man robotically when it came down to just show up to the polls and vote, you know, so our vote could get counted first, and, you know, and whatnot. But it makes me feel kind of very, very nervous. Like I definitely want to go home, just because, you know, I'm not around a very familiar area. Not only am I not around a familiar area, but I'm around a place that supports someone that doesn't like the existence of people that look like me or are very similar to me. And I think that alone is just frightening to think about. Kind of just takes you off your focus. Anyone kind of feel or kind of get where I'm going with this? Yes, no, yeah. It's a little mind-boggling, but, you know, to each his own. What do you think about this, DeAndre?
All right, so for me, it's not really that different. You know, before moving to Atlanta, Georgia, I was in Beckley, West Virginia, and West Virginia is, I'd say socially, is not as forwardly progressed. There's still a lot of backwards thinking and stuff, and so, you know, it was predominantly a red state. They, you know, voted for Trump with the instinct like, I bet that's going to happen and stuff. Transitioning from there to, you know, Georgia's still a red state. Well, I don't know anymore and stuff, but moving to Kansas, I knew for a fact, like, okay, it's the Midwest. I know exactly who they're going to vote for and stuff. I would just expect that it shouldn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican, you vote for the best candidate and stuff. And if this candidate is not the best candidate, like, I don't care if they're part of your party, like, find somebody else and stuff. Being around here, I know it's a red state. Seeing how, you know, people, you know, completely support, you know, radical, you know, human beings and stuff, kind of weird to me. I say it's like almost like a cult following. That's how, you know, I basically would call some radical Trump supporters. Not everybody is, of course, you know, radical, but, you know, when you see the little Trump rally, like going through like the school and stuff. Some of them might be, just innocent. Then there are those who be like, okay, let me keep my eye on him because he might be planning to do something. Say if I look at him wrong, or if I say something and stuff. Extremists, you really think about it. And so, shoot, we was talking about how like, if Biden wins and stuff, some of us were just like, shoot, do we really want Biden to win? Because we are here. And unless if I have protection to protect myself, do I really want to take the chances of a lot of people get upset and basically willing to risk it all because they're angry that he lost? Or would I rather him win and I'd be safe? I know it's up for 4 years, but at least I'll be safe. That's not a good feeling. That's something that should never happen and stuff. It's supposed to be a democracy. It kind of felt like it was a dictatorship at one point to where we have no choice. Let's just vote for him because we know for a fact that we'll be safe and stuff. That should never happen. That's wrong. It goes against everything that this country stands for or what it wants to, progress to stand for and stuff. Like at the end of the day, we gotta remember like it's like a quote around like the 1700s talking about, we are all created equal. But let's be real, when the people who said that, they wasn't talking about me. They were not talking about women. They was talking about, who they seen was the most superior. And so seeing how that is and stuff, being in the state, some people still have that philosophy. So you never know, what they're thinking, what they're planning to do, seeing how somebody that they look up to so passionately, so strongly, and will follow them, it's kind of risky and stuff. That honestly should never happen. But that's what I think. I know y'all nervous, so, let's follow my instructions. You gotta put their hand up. Come on. I'm looking at you too. Okay, put your other hand up. Put it up again. Put it up again. Just keep on going. A. There we go. Got a little bit of giggles and stuff. Y'all good? I can feel the tenseness. Like, I understand, like, this is weird and stuff. Like, oh, man, should I go up there and talk? Do I really want to talk and stuff? Last thing I want to do is be like one of them teachers in high school and, like, just call somebody. Because I know for a fact I never liked that and stuff. But we'll open the floor again. You want to raise your hand, say something, or we just go to the next slide. Hey, there we go. I like you.
I came from Texas, so I obviously wasn't surprised when you see that and that the other states around it were states. I kind of like what you guys said. It's crazy to understand that there are people here that want to like basically immortalize someone who does not think that everyone is equal, and that puts people in cages and believes that proud boys should stand by. It's just crazy to like think that like not everyone is equal, and that's not. It's what you said. That's not this country. This isn't what this country was built on. So it makes me feel like not everyone is the same to everyone. And some people could care less.
Okay. So, so I'll ask you this. Why do you think that mindset, within Kansas, within the Midwest, why do you think that mindset is still existing to this day?
I think it's just because some people, they really are unaware of like how we see it, how other people see certain things, and they are unaware of like what is happening. I guess you could say, but it's also hard to say that when everyone has social media nowadays. So you can't just say, "Oh, I didn't know this was happening." You can't just say, "Oh, I didn't know," or "I didn't agree on that." Well, I mean, everyone talks about it all the time. So for you to say like I didn't know about it, but it's also like they don't go through the same experiences that other races and other so I feel like they don't know because they don't experience that.
Okay.
Growing up, I lived in Smyrna my whole life. I'm from Smyrna, Kansas. Growing up, I never realized because my mom, our family was like really big on politics and like keeping up to date, like seeing what's actually going on with the wars like that. So like I never really understood how red of a state we were until this election. And it really wasn't that surprising to me because in Kansas, there's maybe like 4 cities that have diverse cultures. Because half of Kansas, like the west of Kansas, is all really super small, predominantly white towns. That's basically all Kansas is. The only places in Kansas that have mixed cultures is most likely Wichita, Junction, Salina, or Kansas City, which we share half that with Missouri. But like, I was like moving around in Salina, it was kind of hard to actually set living place for my family and I, because we always had to like figure out what part of town will we thrive best in. There's a part of town that we could afford, and there's part of town that we could afford, but we don't know if we feel safe because of their viewpoints on who we are and how we might treat the economy in that area. So like, I don't know, it's just hard it's hard for those who are never around a lot to understand what people go through, because yeah, that's like what Emily said, like I understand where Emily's coming from, but yeah, they see it on social media and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, that's bad, that looks bad, but then they'll never actually be able to firsthand understand what some people go through because they never see it. Like in Ellsworth, it's like maybe a good 45-minute drive from here. It's really small, and I went there, and everybody looked at me like I was like they never seen a person of color in person before at all. Like they thought I was like an alien or something, and I was like, how they never? And I talked to my friend who lives there. She was like, yeah, there's like maybe like 2 black people in the whole town. Nobody ever talks to them or looks at them or anything. So it's like, instead of willing to learn and try to understand that people don't do, if people actually like try to understand, open their minds and their hearts to actually try to see the dangers that happen, like I feel like it would be better. But it also comes with like your family and generations, and if you're willing to change and if you're willing not to change.
All right.
Do you mind if I? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I ask you a question? So when Trump, you said you lived here like pretty much your whole life, right? So when Trump was elected, what were like your experiences like out here, like just being
when he got elected the very first time, it really wasn't as bad as it was now. They're like, oh, okay, there's Hillary, they're saying, okay. People are like, well, we don't like her, we don't like him. It was really civil, and people were like, well, this is why we don't like her, and this is why we don't like him. So it was more of a conversation of views, and then more than an arguing and like this, he needs to do this, and he's going to do this. It was more like a civil conversation back and forth, professionally with the debates, and then with people in general who support each side. But coming into this election, it was like a low key war, and I was like, it shouldn't feel like this. Like I understand people have different views, like everybody's gonna have different opinions and stuff like that. But I feel like if we respect that choice, that people will have different views, and if we're able to talk about those views in a professional manner without putting too much feelings involved and starting out all-out brawl, then it would be a better place, because you're able to talk professionally about your opinions and not try to listen to understand instead of listening to respond. That's what my mom raised me on, and that would lead every conversation, every decision, every choice you make into a good and well-educated choice, because you're actually taking time to understand where the other person's coming from and how they see things. But nowadays, people don't do that. They talk to respond. They listen to respond. They wait till they hear something they don't agree with to come back at it, instead of actually understanding why the person said what they said, and understanding that why their views is different, and then trying to make an educated, rebuttal to what the other person said.
Okay.
Right. I come from Abilene, which is like 30 minutes away from here. It's like a quarter the size of here. And it is a very hardcore Republican. Like everyone there is very extreme about their opinions. Back when Black Lives Matter protests were like at the highest, it was me and one other person who went out and protested, and we had old people like screaming at us and stuff like that. So like we had people like pull over and like get out of the car and aggressively start like screaming in our faces. So like seeing that, like before, like he said, it was more conversation, but when the election and debates first started happening, I noticed that like people were really just really kissing up to Trump. Like they didn't have any other personality than liking Trump. And I don't like know what happened, but like people just all of a sudden were just like turning it into like a whole thing. Like just all of a sudden they were like just so far up his ass.
Yeah.
It was just so insane. Like coming up from Abilene to Salina, there's a literal billboard that someone handmade that says vote for Trump.
We saw that.
And and like they have it like bolted down and they have lights like blasting on it. And like that's the town I come from. So when I went and voted, people would ask like, you know, oh, are you voting? Because I was in town. And I said, yeah, but I didn't feel comfortable just saying, yeah, I'm not voting for Trump. Because there, if you express that you're not voting for Trump, they will go off on you. And
Really?
like we had one Trump supporter come up to us in the protest and actually have a conversation with us. And there's everyone else screaming at us, threatening to fight us and stuff like that. So like that's the place I come from. And so it's just scary because I mean I personally I'll never go through any of this like stuff that you guys go through. So like I try to be that like middleman there. It's like, hey, you know, this is going on and this is how other people are being affected. But I've noticed that the extremist Republicans just don't, they want to fight, they don't want to listen. And like I'll have people like post stuff on their Snapchat stories about how black people should be thankful for Republicans because of slavery. And it's like they just don't do research, they don't like that's how we went. Because like
Oh, no, we know.
Republicans back at that end where they were the ones like Abraham Lincoln was Republican, but like there was the switch where they switched ideas and stuff. So like people just don't think, and it's hard and it's frustrating. It's like sometimes I can't get myself to have a civil conversation with them because it's just so frustrating that they want to vote for someone who just doesn't care about other people's rights. And like I don't know, it's just insane to me that people just don't care. Like my mom, we're Mexican, and my parents are just so heavily for Trump. And every time I try to have a conversation like, why do you like him so much? She's like, I don't know, I just like his bullshit. And I'm like, okay, that's all there is.
Since do you mind if I ask you a quick question? So like, you know, understanding you went and you know you protested and whatnot and stuff like that. Since Biden was elected, like, have you seen any like radical differences in your city, in your town, like something that stuck out to you that's like, oh wow, that's very alarming, or like, because you know this is something that you know you're around. Well, I don't know if you or stay on campus or if you commute back and forth 30 minutes or whatnot, but like, is there something that you see and it's like, wow, like, you know, like ever since what it was like 2 days ago that Biden was elected? Friday? Yeah.
Well, they just refuse to believe it. And like, this is the first year that Abilene has ever been political. Like, you just never seen it in Abilene. It's just town kept quiet. But now it's like, when we had a larger Black Lives Matter protest, and so like, it was really bad. Like, and like, they had a train of people just not with the Trump lights and grab their big boy engines. So like, it was crazy. They still haven't accepted it, and you know, they say that he's not going to win, and they are like demanding a recount and just going insane about it. So they don't even acknowledge that Biden was winning it.
I'm very curious to see what happens within the next couple months or weeks even, you know. What town is that again? Abilene? Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you have a comment?
I wasn't really like surprised. Well, I'm from Texas, so like it's pretty like mixed, cause like in Texas, like all of the major cities were Democratic,
Mm-hmm.
but all of the small cities, country areas, that's where not a lot of people are,
Mm-hmm.
were Republican. So that's why Texas went red, cause just it's just so many small cities in Texas that take over like the vote of the major cities, because it's only a few major cities. But I'm not really surprised that it went Republican, but not just because of like people not like supporting what Biden things and like people just being Trump supporters or what and whatnot. But like a lot of people chose Trump because of like the things that Biden was talking about, like taxes, like his thing on taxes.
Mhm.
So people voted for Trump because they didn't want Trump to switch taxes,
Mm-hmm.
because they're like higher up in like the scale of
Tax
like,
bracket.
of the tax bracket,
Mhm.
and like minorities aren't. So
Mhm.
it really doesn't affect minorities as much if it's like the people who are upper class,
Mhm.
high middle class. Also like his take on like cattle and farming and stuff like that. So they voted for Trump because Biden wanted to switch how that worked and things and that such a nation. So I can't like, you can't like, I can see why it's red, but like I don't want to just jump into it's red because the state is racist or the surrounding states are racist. Because there were a lot of things that went into this election that people didn't think about, other than Trump doesn't like minorities. Biden is against Trump, so we're gonna vote for Biden because
Yeah.
we don't like Biden. Or we're
No,
gonna
yeah, I
vote for
agree.
Trump because we don't like.
Yeah, that's
Right.
definitely the
Yeah, so
only
it's really
specific
just-
thought.
Yeah, it's really just like a lot of things that went into this election that people didn't take like into consideration. Like I know every Trump supporter that I meet is not racist.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know like Trump supporters that like I'm cool with. Like if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, it's a little
yeah, like,
caught me
it's-
off guard for
yeah,
sure,
like, it's,
but
like it's iffy like when you say it out loud. But I know it's like people who voted for Trump, but I still know like if me and this person was to get into a fight, they would be on my side like
Mhm.
100%. So it's really just going into the fact of not even Trump versus Biden, but it's really just your true beliefs. Because we'll never know like even Biden did get elected and things will like change a little bit. You're never gonna know like what's going on in Biden's head unless he says it out loud or unless you can just read his brain.
Mhm.
And we haven't met anybody who's like other than like psychics, but like that's not really 100% true.
no, yeah, Trump definitely
So-
speaks his mind.
Yeah, and like Trump says like what he wants to say.
Mhm.
Like Trump is gonna have an opinion on everything. Like I'm pretty sure as Biden started like doing things like in January once he becomes president, Trump is still gonna have things to say about like what Biden is doing. So it's just really it's just like what are like your true beliefs as a person? Because people's true beliefs doesn't necessarily mean that like they're right or wrong. It's just what they believe, what they know, and what they've grown up on.
No,
So
yeah, yeah,
you can't really just go off of Trump or Biden. Like you can like it's a good part of how a person thinks.
Mhm.
But you also have to like understand that person to know why they did what they did.
Yeah, no, I really like how you touched on, this vote or this election was more about like what is this person's true beliefs, because those things matter, they matter. They're very important when it comes to, this is someone who's going to run the country. This is someone who's going to make those executive decisions. This is the person that, that is our representation and whatnot. And I think, knowing what that person, or not necessarily how they think, but what they believe in, truly plays a factor into what these next 4 years will look like. Did anyone have any other questions or comments before moving on? But yeah, like, what these next 4 years will look like. I like how you asked that question, because what should we expect to see these next 4 years in office? What kind of things when it comes to maybe taxes? What can we expect? Are there going to be more strict COVID guidelines for us? Are there going to be, just all the basic things that we see, scrolling through our timelines? Like, what are some of these things that we can expect Biden to provide for us or to take from us, or in any kind of way? This is the first time we've ever had a female
Vice President.
Thank you, Vice President. And I think this should be, very interesting. This is history. This is big. This is big on, America. Especially because of everything that happened leading up to it, and then, this now that now what we're given with, it's like, what are we going to do, or what are they going to do to provide us with the proper necessities for us to continue to move forward during these historic times. But does anyone have anything they'd like to add or comment on what they can expect or for these next 4 years?
I just hope they get a hold on police brutality across the board, because it will happen no matter you're black, white,
Mhm.
or green, orange. It's gonna happen no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it shouldn't happen at all, especially when those people are sworn in to protect and not
Mhm.
harm you, unless they really need to.
Mhm.
In some instances, they really don't need to, and they still do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if they just take care of it across the board on everybody, because not just black people get it, everybody gets it. It's
Mhm.
just black. It's just when it happens to black people, it's more out there and stuff, which I kind of don't understand. Because I feel like it's going to happen to everybody. It happens to everybody.
No, yeah, I agree. It definitely happens to just about anyone and everyone. I think just for them, what if I could not necessarily give them advice. I'm sure they have all the advice that they need, but how I'd want things to go personally is they kind of just do the dirty work and go in, and really find out, not necessarily deeply dive into each station or whatnot to see who the bad apples are, but kind of setting up a specific kind of unit or team to go investigate these different police stations or police counties to kind of, truly understand, who is the head of, who's allowing this, and finding out who is truly in charge and who's okay with this. I don't think suspension is the end all be all when it comes to an accidental, killing or a murder. I think it should be more so of like, okay, let's go ahead and, you're going to be taken in and you're going to, no matter what happens, as of right now, you're going to sit in jail just because of the simple fact that this was not needed to happen and this is what had happened and whatnot. I think personally, now that they have, a lot of power, I feel like they can set things up like that in order for us to kind of navigate our way through, picking those bad apples. I think that's a very important subject, just because that is a key point in not necessarily why they were elected, but how they were elected. Unfortunately, Trump really had no comment on a lot of these police brutalities. But when, we have people standing up for, social justice and all and whatnot, he kind of disagrees with them. And then therefore, those that, like he said, that believe in those social justice, but still understand Trump's logic and whatnot when it comes to what they they voted for, those people all move to vote for Biden. So it's like, it's definitely a very important subject that needs to be handled for sure.
Personally, what I want to see Biden and Kamala is the kids at the border. I feel like the families and the mothers and fathers and children. I hope that they get justice, and I hope that they're reunited, because it's just crazy how many people were locked up and things that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. That's been going on since 2015, 2014. And it's like America has all these problems, and then it's like a cycle of problems. So it's like police brutality, protesting, and then like it's like everything gets moved down, and then it comes back up to the top, and then move down, move down, move down, and up to the top. And I think that in order for us to continue to move forward in the best way that we can is just cancel one out one at a time, figuring it out in the best way that we can. I think our biggest problem is we all try and solve something when it's presented to us. Like, for instance, police brutality. When it was presented to us, everyone kind of just went hard and just was like, this is what we need to do, reform, the police, and defund the police, just coming up with all these great ideas, and it's perfect and it's great, but it's like, first we got to allow ourselves to heal from what's happening, because in any kind of way, we're all affected, whether you agree with it or not, and then we can come up with better ways to not only prevent these things, but, allow those who truly need to heal. But, with, the children in cages and families being separated, I think that should have been handled a long time ago. And now that they're in office, I believe they have not only the power, but I believe they have the intellect to do so. It takes a lot to be able to kind of separate these things and truly understand what's going on. I believe they should definitely be reunited with their families. I believe they should be taken care of. Just watching documentaries and stuff and whatnot on camps that have been set up, it's horrendous. Like it's literally like a zoo. Like they treat them as if they're not human beings, and it's like these are the same very much people that when we wake up in the morning or see someone cutting, it's like we look over and we don't know this could be the very same person that's half-assing their job and feeding this child that actually needs proper nutrition, or giving them just the bare minimum. And it's like like what would you, asking that person that is doing their job, like what would you do if you were related to this person, let alone if this person was your child? But it's so deep to the point to where it's like we need to kind of just slow it down and continue to take one problem at a time and just X out. And then I'm not saying we'll be perfect, but we'll get to a point to where we can handle things and truly learn how to evaluate and change the whole culture of America. Because at the end of the day, hate to say it, but I was born in America, so I am American. So it's like, what does it mean to be an American and whatnot? Anybody have any?
I think with the whole police brutality thing, we kind of look at police. They're only required to do 672 hours of field experience, which is 28 days.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think a big part of that is just getting people to community to do the scenarios that, because when you set up to be a police officer, you enforce the law, so there are situations that get escalated. But I think that's where they're just training on the same thing. Situations like that, so they don't get escalated to the point where someone is drowned or pepper sprayed or
Mm-hmm.
killed. So that's just one thing that I thought was just crazy.
Yeah, like,
Only 28 days.
yeah. How many hours is that again?
672.
672 hours. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know people who spend thousands of hours a video game, so it's not that much time.
Yeah, and it's like you would think it sounds like a lot, but then you say 28 days, and that's what. There's how many days are in February? 28. That's the shortest month of the year. Like that alone, it just gives you perspective on what it's like, and it's like, okay, now I understand. Well, I truly don't understand, why these people still would shoot, at someone who can't really harm them. At least from a standpoint that they have a firearm and that person does not, may or may not. But it's like, you have all of this training, 28 days, all of these training, and you have all this understanding of what it's like to be a police officer, and you've done all of this work, and it's very personally, it's very intimidating, because it's like that just goes to show, what these type of people, our president can delegate who gets power and who doesn't. Just give this person 28 days of training, and we'll go ahead and give him a badge and a gun, and he'll be good. And it's like, oh wow, like we're giving the wrong people a large amount of power. So, but yeah, I definitely agree with your statement. Anybody have any thing they'd like to comment on? Question? Oh, did you want to go ahead and end it?
All right, so what I expect, of course, we're during a pandemic, as just to let everybody know. So of course, the task for him and her and for everybody is to find better ways to make sure that we can keep the numbers down, because cases are still spiking. So control the numbers, because we're still in a pandemic. Coronavirus plan, COVID-19 plan. We need to continue to better, find better regulations and stuff, and just completely flatten the curve. That's one big responsibility that he has. Two, of course, the issue with immigration. I'll say from experience, I accidentally drove into Mexico, I'm not gonna lie, driving from California to Georgia, and I am grateful that we was able to cut through the line, because seeing that line, people parked their cars and basically like there for like a good 30 days, just waiting to enter the country and stuff. So seeing that, firsthand and stuff, there need to be a better way for the immigration policy and citizenship to be faster, because there's a lot of people who are waiting so long, probably already in the country, but they're not legal. And so it takes so long for them. Like, there are people who are probably around the 60s, and they just become legal. That's unacceptable. So they need to really work on immigration and find ways how to make the process more faster. If that means creating more jobs to give more opportunities for workers to earn income and make the process faster, then you need to do that. So that's the other thing. Another one will be, of course, police reform. That's always going to be a tough one. That's always going to be touchy. The president don't really have that much control around police reform and stuff. But you got your three branches of government. You got your judicial branch and legislative. So they'll definitely have to talk with them to create plans to have a better police reform, because these problems are still going to happen. You need to be able to eliminate that. So that's a big task. For us personally, what's going to happen with them being in office is that we're going to truly see that it's time to truly pay attention to our candidates, and no matter if they're a Democrat or a Republican, it's time to actually vote somebody who's going to get the job done. If we got to look at different parties, I feel like that we'll start investing in other parties, because there are other political parties. We'll start looking at them and seeing them more as being more, potentials for different, positions in the office and stuff. That will happen. We're going to start holding, him accountable. I mean, let's face it, for me, I'm like this, you're getting voted in, best believe the pressure's going to be on you. And if you slip up, just let it be known that you're going to hear from the people and stuff. The tolerance level's way low now. It used to be very high. It's way low now. And so the importance of voting, you put people in, if they mess up, you get them out. Find somebody better and stuff. If they keep on having problems, you keep on pressing the issue and let them know, yeah, we're not applying for this. And so now it's more demanding more leadership, having high expectations, and knowing for a fact that if you not get your job done right, we are voting you off for the next one. So I feel like that those are the next things for us to expect. Now, other thing, you're going to see a lot of weirdos doing a lot of weird stuff, okay? We still going to have Trump flags. It's going to be very nice memorabilia for a lot of them and stuff. There was a video thing yesterday to where there was a mass gathering. I don't know which state it was, and it was just a lot of Trump supporters playing "We Are the Champions." That's weird, kind of delusional stuff, as you can see. And I said it earlier, and you said it's a cult following, as you can see. And so I guess some people going to be extremists. I know we don't want to call them terrorists. Was domestic terrorism. You're going to see some events happening. I mean, I pray that it don't happen here. And, especially because we're all here and stuff. But there's going to be a lot of radical people that's going to be, willing to sacrifice their whole life just for, his cause and stuff. People are still going to follow him, okay, no matter what. So I'm looking more for the positives. We got to continue to grow and continue to progress forward. We can't keep on going back no more. There's no more inconsistency. We need to keep on going up. it's 2020. This year has been a long year. Like, let's be real. I still remember when we just found out Kobe Bryant died, which is still tragic and still hurts. And the fact that it's still the same year, it's just like, I'm ready to hit just the hard deuces. Just hard deuces to 2020. But I hope that we continue to grow and continue to progress. And for us to really understand that at one point we're going to be in this position. We're going to be them old dudes or old, dudettes that like young kids are just not going to care about. Be like, oh, you're so out of touch and stuff. You're so, who is this? Oh, my bad. We're going to be in that position to where either A, we can, be smart and continue helping this country move forward, or we're going to be the ones that, almost burn it down and stuff. That's why, this whole thing exists. Let's continue to leave everybody, lead everybody out of ignorance, educate everybody, and truly demand the best. No more time to have like a low tolerance for, unacceptable behavior and stuff. So seeing how we basically passed the time, just to let y'all know, we have one more talk, and that is next week, because finals is the week after that, and I'm trying to pass my classes so I can just graduate, because these professors are really getting on my nerves. Yes, I said that, and I'm looking at the camera, just to let y'all know. I'm not calling out no names, though. So, like I said, we'll be here next week. It'll basically be, talk wrap up. Usually we'll have, everybody vote and stuff, but we'll just wrap up the show. We'll everybody, give a review and stuff, how you feel. We'll go back to our favorite talks and stuff. It'll be very fun. So if you like this, people are bored, Talk 2020 on Twitter. You can go follow, interact with us. We'll probably put posts on there if you want to.
It's Go Talk.
Oh, go Talk 2020. My bad. Somebody took the other one.
If you guys just give us a follow, we're up to like 3 followers right now. We actually get votes on topics, so if you guys would just follow us, we appreciate that. But if not, it's okay. You guys pop back in and lurk on our page.
Or you just, just see us in person and just be like, hey, yo, fam, like, we talk about this, and that.
Suggestions.
Like, we ain't gonna bite. We'll be all right. But, yeah, definitely. So, thank y'all for showing up. It's nice that y'all seen the posts and stuff. If you want to invite more friends. It'll be, look at all this space. We can fit as many people we want to in here. But besides that, enjoy your night. It's very windy. Hopefully no tornadoes hit us. And everybody have a good night.